Welcome to my channel. My name is Gemma. I am an advanced cultist. I'm a criminologist and a mother of two. And I want to talk about today underpinning aspects of human rights, why it's there, what is above the law. Come on guys, what's above the law? And it ain't advanced cultists and people who want to pretend that they're above the law or use the law to their advantage, or it isn't actually a matter of fact whether you have people who are maybe conducting trafficking under a financial regime, still illegal. So what is above the law? What is above the law? Let's think about this. And I'm also going to underpin, some other things about a Christ. Beauty. Right? Because we all have beauty. This is our tree. Right? So this is your tree inside of you. So when people say that they turn away from beauty, they're turning away from good. Because that's what the old condition of the Jesus was. It wasn't because he was a sacrifice. That was an inversion. So when you understand that you're turning away and going and walking towards a salvation, well, that's the wrong way, isn't it? Salvation's up there, right? You follow me with this? So when people say that they renounce Christ, it's because they're going against themselves, okay, in a good way to fall into judgment, okay? So they might do bad things to get to this space. They might do bad things to get to this space, okay? They might end up staying there as well, being overruled by an overlord concept. This is an aspect of possession, okay? So this is the travel, okay? So you got Christ, travel to Satanism. But Satanism isn't necessarily a bad thing, only unless you walk through and go into the spheres where there is an inverted space taking place, okay? And it's called anything bad, really. So this is kind of like a criminal justice system set. So it's like behind. So as a system, we want to protect people. This is a theory. So let's get into this. We want to protect people. We want to keep people safe, and that's why the justice system is there, because it's called a justice system. So we can say that's a justice, which is a strength. So when there's an inversion taking place, you fall into those spheres. They make you feel like you're a king or a queen in these spheres, okay? So the reason why they do this as well is because they want you to think that you're the one that's powerful, almighty, okay? When really, they're just really old men who are possessing bodies, and they just want you to feel like you're the almighty one and you're going to be the next one. When ultimately, when they die, you're just going to end up with nothing as well. Okay, you're going to end up falling back into that and then looking at what you've done. Okay, so when you announce this, okay, because this is yours. Okay, so everything that you all do, if you want to promote these things, if you announce, if you go against, if you turn away, okay, this is like a really big underpinning that you have to understand, is that this is your tree, no one else's. Okay, so if you act in forms of possession, it'll automatically go back to you. Okay, so if you want to break a tree, that's your tree, not ours, no one else's, it's just yours. So if you turn away from this, you turn away from good in the world, okay? Because the doctrines aren't a true significance, because they've been changed over time. So I'm telling you as a holy grail, right? Because everybody is a form of a holy grail, because we all have this chakra within us, right? So another thing as well that I want to say is that when you turn away, okay, because this is another context to understand this, is that when you turn away from a Christ, you're turning away from your own good. So you might be able to heal people. You might have healing powers, right? In a connotation where everybody has something good to offer the world. You're turning away from that concept to follow a judgment, but you're going into a different sphere where you think that you're a king or a queen in these areas, in a judgment concept, not up here, not in higher ones, just in strength. But ultimately, understand Gavura is an aspect of judgment, okay? So this is where the system all falls, okay? This is how they break a tree, okay? So this is your tree, okay? So if you have to understand that this is your beauty, this is your good. You're turning away from good because something bad happened to you in a systematic process. Maybe it might have been a systematic process, okay? It might have been something like that, but you're turning away from this because you haven't really grasped a healing process yet that needs to take place. So what will happen is you'll find people and they'll push towards healing and then they'll push back against it and they'll go to and from, to and from, to and from. So they might feel more happier here, okay? And or more confident because they think they're king and queen. And then ultimately when they come back here, they're trying to heal again. They're being pushed down here into love and healing. And if they don't want to do that, that's fair enough. That's up to them, okay? But this is where you'll find the healing. You need to really come back down here to your emotions. To understand. Was it real? Wasn't it real? Okay, as well. Because, you know, it might have just been a programmable state as well. So this is the thing as well. We need to heal from those places as well, right? So we have to understand that we fall through into these zones. And what's that? Well, it's the sun and the moon. We look at them. They're there. And the moon is our emotions and how we feel. So you can be sitting in strength with a broken tree concept because you did it through love. Or you did it through a feeling, okay? So, but usually what happens is they do it through a feeling, okay? So you might get advanced occultists out there who like say they're dark magicians and stuff like this. And you know, they might prey on people, right? And they do, right? They prey on people because they have an overlord attachment. And because, you know, I've tried my hardest to help you lot. I can't do it anymore. Anyway, so you go to feels and then they go to, because they feel, they miss this tree out. So they have a broken tree, okay? That's broke as well because they're not understanding what's going on. So they'll always fall back down. And then this is how they'll always do it because they think that they're trying to do something. So they might come up here to feels and then not go to this sphere and heal, okay? Because this is what they bang on about. We need to heal, And then they'll push you up here or they'll push themselves up here and then they'll fall into an aspect of this. And then they'll make them a king or queen, right? And then you go all the way up back to understanding. They can't understand. So then they fall down to heal again, okay? So this is like a process that we can all sort of come to understand. But this is what's happening, okay? So renouncing a Christ concept, because I have a wound in Christianity. I have a wound in religions, okay? So renouncing away is you turning away from your own sphere. This sphere in you out of fear, okay? Out of fear, right? And then it makes them feel stronger to sit in judgment. It makes them feel stronger to sit in judgment because there's another space here where there's an overlord taking over them, so they can fall into an aspect of judgment over and over again, round and round. They just go round and round in circles here. And they might be, you know, possessed, or they might be being controlled by a person, a relationship, a situation, okay? So this is how you can understand where people, or they might just be like confused about how they need to heal. They don't know how to, okay? You know, people can talk about it a lot, but they don't know how to heal, you know, and then you got to realize is that their credentials, I mean, what are they teaching? I mean, do they know anything about these different aspects? So I'm going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to get into another time about reptilians, Orions and all this stuff, right? And it's, I'm going to do it from a archetypal energy, right? So you can get it, right? Because this is going to be really understanding and depicting how we can go about understanding these spaces a bit more, especially in programmable states, right? Okay, so that's one. So now I want to get into the underpinnings of human rights. So what is a human right? Well, a human right is something that protects us in our society to make us feel, to keep us protected, right? In our society, to make us safe, okay? So this is what really underpins protection in our society. And if human rights fall, what falls? Okay. So recently there was a study, and it was, I think, EU ruled that the UK aren't using the human rights appropriately, adequately, and the EU actually ruled that not long ago. I think it was the EU High Court ruled, or it might have been a High Court as well in the UK. They said that the DWP, which is universal credits, can't block a universal credit. So the High Court ruled this, the UK High Court ruled this, that the DWP, which is the universal credit system, can't put sanctions on people, right? This is interesting because they can't put sanctions on people for doing missing an appointment or something like this, okay? Because what they're doing is they're pushing people under the poverty line, which is actually what's meant to be there in the first place. So the High Court ruled that they cannot actually do this, right? So they have to change their functions with society, but I haven't seen a change yet. Another thing is that what goes against human rights is that the EU, right, High Court ruled that the UK system is not accepting human rights as a big main factor anymore since we came out the EU. Okay, so we have to understand what is above the law. What's above the law? So what is above the law? Human rights. What are the rights above that? Well, let's get into this. This is a bit of criminology for you. So if I was to tell you that there was nothing above the law, or people are higher than the law, people who make the laws are higher than the laws, well, that's not true, okay? They might be getting away with stuff or whatever, but they're not above the law. And the reason why is because they're supposed to be distributing a level playing field, a moral compass, to distribute the laws itself. So they're not supposed to be higher than the law, okay? So they're not above the law, okay? So the people that sit on their spaces to dish out a justice, okay, just a justice. I'm not going to go into all the names and stuff, but a justice, just to dish out justice. You have to understand that these people aren't above the law, okay? They're below it, okay? Because they're the ones who are trying to integrate. So who makes the laws? Are they above the law? Are they above the law? No, they're not above the law, okay? There has to be reasonable doubt to put in a law in there in the first place, okay? So what's above the law? Because it ain't the people that are doing it, that are dishing it out. It's not the people that are making it, because they've got to at least been a public opinion for that to be there in the first place. So if there's a law that's been passed and it's actually unlawful, then you have to realise that if the law's been passed and it is unlawful, that goes against the law too, okay? So let's get into one that I heard. You can't nail, this is a really old one, this is really, really old, I think it was like 1500s. You can't, it was a really stupid law, and it was like, you can't nail you, oh my god, I'm not going to say it, it's disgusting. You can't, right, there's loads of things, and it was because it was a form of bullying, right? It's tyrants, right? These are tyrants. I won't go into an opinion. Let me go into, I'll go into a different one. Right, so there was a referendum, and it took place. What it did was, it pushed everything into privatised spaces. So we had public sectors, right? And it all went privatised. You got to understand this. There was already privatised sectors anyway, like soliciting communities, and there were already other things in place that had already been red tape, so like care homes. They were all privatised, right? So a lot of these places were privatised, okay? So you have to understand that when we had that referendum, what they did was it privatised a lot of sectors. So what did it do? It gave our power away to companies, right? So we have to understand this now. The companies that are in charge of a lot of these private sectors now are using solicitors to raise a bar to make them the almighty law makers, right? This is what's going on. This is what the fight is now in the UK right now. I posted something on Facebook about it, and it was the politicians versus the solicitors. Right, this is what's going on now, and the reason why the politicians are higher. Well, they're the lords up there, right? So say that this is like, let's forget all the other stuff that I've mentioned before in this concept. Let's bring back and understand aspect of society. So We have the solicitors, they're probably there in the fields, right? Because they want what they want, right? And then you've got the House of Commons, and then you've got which is the green room, and then you've got the red room, which is the Lords, right? And then you have people who are supposed to be sat there like in the councils helping, but they're not even there. They're not in the council. The councils aren't there. Okay, councils aren't there. Okay, I'm going to tell you now. The councils aren't there. They're supposed to be there, but they're there. Same with the solicitors. Okay, because they're owned by employment. They're owned as well. They're owned by private sectors. Okay, you have to understand this, because it was taken out like no in the 900s, right? So you got to think that a lot of these councils, they're private owned as well, right? So they're all down here. They're all down here in fields, helping people feel how can we help this person, right? So then we have to understand that this here, right, this is where we need to rise to. So if we're renouncing Christ concept, where we're turning our back away from our good inside us, our beauty, what makes us feel good, or not what makes us feel good, but you know, because you can still have forms of escapism. This is like walking in the sun. Is that a form of escapism? No, it isn't. You get your vitamin D, right? That's stupid. That's the sun concept. What you're going to do, turn away from the sun. Anyway, so we have, where was I? So I was on High Court's ruling, and that who's, right, so you got the Green Room, and then you got the House of Lords, and then you've got the solicitors down here. So they're trying to override, they're overriding, not Satanism, I'm not talking about that, I'm not talking about Jesus Christ, whatever. I'm talking about, they're trying to, and there's us in the middle, right? There's us, or there. That's us, in this connotation, in a societal concept, in a societal construct, okay? Criminologist, right? So we have loads of these dudes in the field. You got your councillors, councils, solicitors, right? Councillors as well. The councillors are meant to be up there. Councillors, okay? That's where the councillors sit. Not the council, but people who care about people, who have risen from a heart, who care about people, who have gone all the way up there to come back down to understand you that are sat in there getting counselling sessions, for example. You might have a good one or a bad one. Now that depends. Right? Anyway, they're supposed to take aspects of this, wisdom, good, healing energy, and then give it to you with this, love. Okay? This is the support. Okay, this is that's that concept there. Okay? Wisdom to help this person, because that person's in this area and it needs some support. You understand? So you've got solicitors trying to fight these here, which is in the House of Commons. Let's go back to this, the House of Commons, and then you've got the fields. So you've got solicitors and that, they're trying to smash this one out. They're trying to smash out an aspect where the public can have a say, okay, on certain things that are taking place. For example, legal aid, right? So this is one of the things. So women who have illegal aid, right? So you get dished out legal aid from this place, House of Commons, the Chancellor, right, in our country, in UK. And then what they do is they take the money off them, and they're saying they want more money from them. They want more money from them. They're not bleeding doing the job properly, are they? So they've gone to a high court to rule and fight over House of Commons. They're getting clever, aren't they? They're getting cheeky. They're getting a bit above their boots, right? A bit above the law, that concept. So I don't know how many fingers and pies they've got when it comes to high courts and judges and stuff like this. So all these high court rulers and all this stuff, they've got to sit in understanding. They're meant to be all up there. It's not 5D creative space, come on. You have to do the work inside you. Right? So you've got a lot of high court judges that are meant to be sat up there. And then you've got to understand that you've got these spaces where they're trying to take it out. So you've got councillors that are here, they're meant to be here. So they're actually gone down here. You all think they're all up here and they're not, they're down here. Right? And then they're trying to take out this side in this country. Right? Because what? We're not in the EU anymore. So it's almost like the solicitors want to be up here somewhere when they're not. Because what do solicitors do? So let's just understand what a solicitor does. They're not supposed to be doing illegal stuff, but they take sides. It's a play to them. It's theatrics, right? So when you go into a courtroom, they do it every single day, right? They take their position by what they're told to do, right? When they go in there, or they have a position, they're not always going to be there to protect these people, because it's sort of like already been overruled by their boss or someone else, and they've just got to come in and do the job. So they're just like yes men, right? But at the same time, or women, right? But at the same time, you've got to understand that these people aren't even supposed to be there. They're not even there. They're down here, right? And they're trying to take out all the functions in our society. Okay, because if they take legal aid out, what do they need more money for? If they ain't doing the jobs properly in the first place, if there's too many injustices taking place, we need to refunction the soliciting community back to a state where they're not the overruling gangsters, right? In a legal construct. Because have you noticed that they fight and they also use the law and twist it and then spit it back out again? I don't know if anyone's noticed that. And a lot of the times as well, if it's been preordained, well, that's illegal, isn't it? Even if the judges are doing that, it's illegal, it's unlawful, because you're not getting a fair trial. This is where the human rights are being disabled, right? So they're saying, solicitors saying that it's his fault, Lord Chancellor, because he sits in the House of Commons, and it's meant to be his fault because he's not dishing out enough legal aid, right? Well, that's not true, right? Because if you need legal aid, you get that legal aid. It's simple. Whether the solicitors use it properly and efficiently, that is probably going to be their argument. And they've got to stand up for the people now. Because let me tell you now, if you don't stand up for the people, everything's going to go to absolute, right? And the reason why I say this is because there is nobody monitoring this area. So they reckon they can go to high courts and just get a judge to overrule certain things. Well, then you're dismantling your whole tree. Okay, we've been that long in the EU. We've removed ourselves from the EU in 2020. We've been that long in there, and then this has happened. It's almost like we need to go back into the EU very quickly, because if you have high courts ruling over and you old judges, like you must by 2020, you must have been like understand that there's a sense where people can be greedy, people can be in their fields, people can do that, and what it does is it dismantles a state. Okay, so this is how you get Winston Churchill era, where you have them all and they're all like walking around the big sticks, right, big top hats, right, all politicians, and then you got like all these people, all paupers, and they're walking around like rich men gangsters. Right? We're going back. Are we going back? I know a lot of it was hidden anyway, but it had to be. So a lot of them couldn't get away with what they was getting away with. And there was an overarching factor who ruled. And, I don't know about the UN, because I don't think that really... There's not really a big contributor when it comes to that. They've all paid money into it. So it's kind of a financial-based system as well. To who's running the show and what rules and what things happen next in the world. But the EU was very different, right? So I'm not saying the EU was perfect, but I'm just saying that it had an overarching factor to stop a lot of these misdemeanors taking place. I mean, this was still getting away with it. So this is kind of like how, because they were like overruling that, putting people in prison, miscarriages of justice. There was lots of them, and they blame it on the government Home Office and stuff like this, when actually it's a function within our society that's actually making this process take place in the first place. So we have to really understand that, what needs to be changed, what things need to be sort of like, people need to be put into place, that thing. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, I said it. Need to be put in your place, right? Right, so when you, let's bring this all together now, all together, everything I've just said, right from the beginning to the end. When you renounce this in a societal construct, who are you renouncing? Who are you doing a coup to? Who is that in the middle? Well, who are they? They're the people, right? Because this is how the functioning society exists in the first place, the people. So you've got to understand, right? Because I'm a criminologist, okay? And I spoke about the religions, and I had a wound there, right? So we have to understand that I'm on it, right? I'm on it, right? I'm on this. I get it. So you've got, who else is doing this? They might be on it as well. But I'm saying now, they can do this, and they're on it. But if they're still fragmented, then they're not on it, are they? Right? This is the reality. Okay? So you might be following people, that have big gauges because they've done something bad to do what they're doing now. They're still fragmented. You know? I know flight and fight. I know these things. I know how to heal. Okay? I know how to do it. Right? And I know how it's done. And I know how people are doing it against us to stop us. And I'm telling you. Right? Spirituals. So, this is another thing. But let me get into this. Right? So you have to understand that, I'm trying to help you. And I'm trying to help myself as well. Right? Because there's something really bad happening in our society. And so we have the people. Right? Because who is Jesus? G is us. Right? So, you have to realise that if you start projecting stuff out and dismantling the state, well, it's going to go back to you on it, innit? Because I'm telling you now, it's going to go back to you lot, right? Whoever's doing it, right? So you have the people here is a concept. These are where the people sit. A pole, a construct of a pole, and it's women, men, it's everybody, right? Because this is the primary reason. This is how these functions were created in the first place. From this, man, woman, moon, sun, okay. So this is Malkuth, this is the kingdom. So we have to understand now that if these functions in our society are being dismantled by certain groups in our society, and they've been left to do it for a long time, right? And they've been going under for a long time, and you've got judges who might be sitting in this concept, but let's say they're here instead in this underpinning. Let's just say the judges sit here in this underpinning, in strength we pass judgment, right? Not in a inverted state, fuck that off, but in a true concept of we are going to judge through this, because they're supposed to be up here. Ultimately, the judges meant to sit up here in understanding, listen, and then understand, and then pass your judgment. You're not supposed to rewrite it, come in and then just reel it off, put some extra words in, and then write it out and read it off, right? You're supposed to go and think about it and then come back in and sit down. Because I've seen them in magistrates, that's what they do. Whether it's right or wrong or not, right? There might be some forms of possession taking place there. Just gonna put that out there, right? Just for you guys. Up there. So I love you. Okay? I don't like these people who are doing this. Okay? I don't like you. I don't like you. Okay? And I know you don't like me. Right? And for the people who are doing really terrible things, I actually really hate you. I hate you. And I really hate you. Like child traffickers, nonces, like stuff like this. I hate you all. I hate you. I hate you. Right? So, I hate them. Right? I hate them. They're not good people. Okay? Now, this is where a hierarchy factor, where a law, right, a true underpinning of who rules. It's the theories. It's the theories that underpin a reason why these functions are there in the first place. This is what is supposed to rule, okay? So the reality is that, you know, for example, George Bush Senior, he's died, he's come back through. His baby, where is he? No one knows. No one knows where he is. Didn't he want to do a 2030 agenda? Well, no one knows where he is. Where do you think he is? He'd pop back through, wouldn't he, by now? Yeah? So where is he? So you have to realise that not everything is what it seems, okay? Because we all fall back through the reincarnation, okay? No, it's not a trap. It's not a trap. The reality is that when you die, where are you going to go? To La La Land, to Marshland? No. We are an encompassment, right? And even if we aren't in an encompassment, this is an earth concept. Okay, this is the love zone. This is really where we are. We're not down there. That should be up there at top. But in a way where it is up there on the Freemason diagram. So on the Freemason diagram, love is up here. Because we look up the sky, what is it? Northern Lights, there you go, it's up there. We can see it with our bloody eyeballs. We know, we can see that. It's so obvious. So even this isn't a true definition, but it is. Because these two here, this and this should be together like this, and that should be down here. There shouldn't be it's not an overarching factor. This shouldn't be an overarching factor. It should be down here. That shouldn't even be there. But it's strength. So it's almost like it's an aspect of judgment, but strength is a good thing, okay? So in strength we rise with understanding. In strength we rise, so it should be there. But at the same time, whatever's attached to that, whatever they've created, isn't, is it? It's an inversion. And people get lost in it. Live whole lives in it. And be right, good people at first and just change their whole life. Just because what? There's an overruling factor, because they've got an overlord or a demonic possession or something like this. Because it is real, you know, the Christ consciousness and all that. Well, why did all that exist in the first place? Because there's a dismantling of a state, and this is why it happens, this is why it takes place, because they want something. What do they want? And it's about the people. And Mother and Mary, right? What is it about? It's disgusting, right? Satanism, but in inverted states. You know, a lot of people who claim to be Satanists don't even agree with that as well. They don't agree with it. Taking babies off mums and that. They don't agree with it. Satanism, they don't agree with it. Not a lot of them do. You ask them all, I'm a Satanist. Oh yeah, what do I believe in? They'll say strength. They won't say we believe in hurting and dismantling a state, taking children off mothers or their family, do they? Right? They don't say that. A lot of them don't. Or some of them won't talk about it. Because some of them do that. Some of them do want that, which is weird as well. Because you came from a woman, right? So all you Satanists out there, you came up there in your little in society. You came from a woman. Do you think you wouldn't even exist, mate? If they did that to you, you wouldn't even exist. You wouldn't even exist. They'd have just took you out, wouldn't they? And you're sitting there getting clever because it didn't happen to you. What about all the other kids? Well, like Change Gabriella. What about all the other kids? Understanding. Wisdom. Understanding. Criminology, studied it. What about all the other kids? Right? So where's George Bush Senior now? Let's just bring this into context. What all this stuff that he was trying to push? 2030 agenda. 6% of the population. Well, he might not even be able to survive. He might have to be an ant or something. For like centuries. Because just everything that is happening. It might be a mouse concept. You lose your dimensional you lose your dimensions. But, you know, at the same time, that's a different story. Let's get back into this. I'm going off now, but in understanding context of society, you've just pushed these together, trying to take that out. So you've got the solicitors, and then you've got the House Commons, because they're for the people, for them. But are these for the people? say the solicitors are there, for example, in the fields, right? Because they're the ones that are doing dodgy stuff. Because there's an aspect of injustice taking place there. And if they're ignoring people, well, that's smashed as well. So if House Commons are ignoring the people, like, for example, ceasefire, that happened ages ago. If you're ignoring it, then it's smashed already, right? Because you've already been controlled by these, which is what? Anyone that wants to sit there in a private organisation and overrule the UK. So you've got them going to war with each other over what? The people are higher than you. That's what you're meant to be working for. You're meant to be working for the people. That's why the government's there. That's why solicitors are there. Because you're supposed to be working for the people. Not just for magistrates. Not just for the crown. What's his name? Her Majesty. His Majesty. Is he even pulling the strings either? Is he just in mercy giving charity and just listening to everyone else? No? I've spoke about this before about the monarch. They're in there because they give to charity, that's it. They might sit in understanding and stuff. And they need to start taking over then, don't they? They need to sort it out. Because what's the point in having a monarch if they're not going to do anything? So I'm not saying dismantle the monarch, because that's probably what they've been doing all over the other countries. I think France, she stepped down. Why did she step down? You're the one that's supposed to be taking this to another level, you know? And the reality is that these people, no offence or anything, but if you step down, you spoil. You're not understanding. You've been too long in rest and digest mode, and you haven't understood the mission, right? So this is usually how you might find angels. You might find people like that will fall knee deep in these stuff. We'll fall knee deep in it, in injustice. And we were the ones that are rising, trying to tell everybody what's going on. What's going on in the system. Okay? Because you get people who deny it. But if you understand and bring it all together, like a puzzle, you figure it out. And this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to bring this to you guys. So we have to understand that the people who are taking the House Commons out, because they seem like they already have been there. Went all the way up to UN, all the way back down to House Commons. This is the reality. Got to understand what's going on here. Because there's somebody overarching, okay? And it's, to be honest, if you understand the 2030 agenda, it's already happened. You already have control. Why do you need any more? Okay? Our society is quite civilised, but there's some places within our society that isn't. But they're trying to take out for more money when they have a lot of power. So where do they have a lot of power in? Child law, housing. So who rules these zones? Legal law. What do you need for a legal law solicitor, right? So you've got to realise who is actually doing all this. You've got the housing crisis. You've got lots of children going into care. High rise in the number of children going into care since 2020. Housing crisis. They reckon it's an inflation. They reckon we're indebted. You've got the DWB trying to taking the people to the courts, basically. Just to take our boundary of the safety net of not being under poverty lines, okay? So you've got all this taking place. So you've got to think, who's behind all this? Well, it's the solicitors. Soliciting community, and it's legal. It's legal. Legal law. You're not above the law. You're twisting a narrative to create things like gross misconduct. You're lying about stuff. You're not posing a truth. Okay, you're hiding evidence and then you're not giving it till last minute. So you're creating spaces where there's a dysfunction within our society because you are creating the dysfunction within the society. You are stopping the people from having their justice, their human rights. So this is the reality we have to look at. Yeah, and they don't like me. Okay, they do not like me, and I don't care. Right, and I'll probably get saying it. But this is the reality. This is where I'm at. So we have to realise that these people, they shouldn't even be in these positions of power. It's almost like they've got away with it for so long. These are the ones who are creating gauges under legalities, and then somebody's passing it. So somebody is passing it. So you have to understand that there's an overarching factor taking place that is controlling, okay? And it's not in the House of Commons. They probably have controlled it already. And it might be in the House of Lords, but they probably have it been controlled already. Because you heard the Chancellor, was it the chair? He said the coppers went round to his house because he said ceasefire, and then he walked out. He said, no, ceasefire, that's it. He walked out, and he said the coppers came round to his house. So what are the coppers doing going round to his house for, telling him that he can't do a ceasefire in Ukraine a while ago? Right? What are the coppers doing going round his house, and then started telling him about all these, like, what was it, something about migration, or like a lot of things that have been taking place that have hijacked, or terror attacks and stuff like this. So they tried to sway his decision. It's just like, what you got cops going around his house for? So that's intimidation. Intimidation over what? A chair. Somebody sat there in a House of Commons trying to rule, trying to bring justice for the people, and then they told him not to. Basically, by fear-mongering him to, oh, these terrorist attacks, what, 98 terrorist attacks? So you're going to bomb a whole bloody civilian nation? Are you fucking for real? So this is how you can tell it got took out. So when they did that, and the cops went round, this was when the solicitors are now coming and gunning for, what's his name? The Chancellor, for legal aid. When they're not even supporting the people. You got mass children going into care. Where's all the support for, where's the victim support for the people? Where's the support for the people? Because there isn't any in the councils, because they're not helping people. They're just putting the kids in care. Right? So there's loads of kids going in care. I've read loads of stuff. It's on my YouTube if you want to go back to what I'm referencing to. Right? It's on my community post on Facebook, Gemma Haley, and it's on there. So this is what I'm trying to bring to you, because you need to understand this, because there's no one sitting up here. There's no one up here in our society. It's been smashed, okay? And you've got people down here trying to rule. They're not in understanding. It's a corrupt position, so it's here. So they're all sat in an inverted state, right? And they say, oh, sometimes there's an evolution of a state and sometimes there's de-evolution of a state. And it's almost like, if you really want to understand what's going on right now, there's going to be a de-evolution of a state. And it's going to be within fractions within society, and it's going to fall. We're all going to have to go off grid. We're all going to have to, like, literally go off grid to survive. And I'm telling you about the rituals because this is what they're going to do. This is what they're going to conduct onto the masses if you don't listen to me. They're doing it already. They do it in mental institutions, okay? They do it when you are trying to help yourself, okay? Because they don't want you to get help. And this is what was a big narrative and a big gauge within society that's taking place now. Because if you can do that to a Holy Grail, a 369, right, who else can you do it to? And this is how I can understand the Holy Grail concept and how I understand my religions through understanding this, who I am, and how I can give it back to you. Because you are one as well, under a context of understanding the Jesus. G is us. G is us. G is us. Right? G is us. And then that's the Freemason symbol in there. G. G is us. All of us. Right? So you can turn away from your good, turn away from your healing abilities to push an aspect of strength. But in strength, you need this because it's with love. Unless you inverted it. Okay? So you've pushed out narratives to invert a space. To what? Help all these listeners down there. These are all corrupt. So there's one who's nearly gone now. Right? But they all reckon that they're going to stay alive till this is actually finished and then they're all going to go away. We're all going to pass over. Right? So you got a lot of old dudes and that, running the show. And this is the truth. They are in high positions, playing positions in our society. And they are ruling. Okay? And they're all older now. And they all think that this is the right thing to do for society. This is creating a new world. When all it's going to do is push you, when you die, you're going to come back through the streams. And it's going to push you back into these spaces. They're going to push you back into these spaces yourself. Okay? So you all understand. Anything you do onto me is back onto you. And I'm here to tell you, for the people, what's going on. Because Moral Archangel Gabriella, I'm here to protect the children. And this is why. Have a good day to the people who are good. Have a bad day for the people who aren't good.